This video is about how to change fractions to percents. And there's going to be two methods that we're going to go over. I recommend that you stop the video and take notes if that's helpful to you. So the first method is one that's not going to work all the time, but if you can use it, it's super helpful, which is to look at the denominator. And once again, we're trying to get to percents, and percent means out of 100. So if we can get this denominator to equal 100, then that's going to get us to a percent. So one way you can do that is you can take your number and multiply by a fraction equal to 1. So for example, 5 times 1 is 5, and 6 times 1 is 6, and 7/10 times 1 is still 7/10. Except we're not going to be just multiplying by 1, we're going to be multiplying by a fraction that's equal to 1. So for example, 5 over 5, 6 over 6. And the reason that works, why that's a fraction equal to 1, is remember that that fraction bar means division. So 5 divided by 5 is 1. So we're looking for a fraction that's equal to 1 that's going to help us get to a denominator of 100, because once again, we're trying to get to percent, or out of 100. So I look and go, 10 times what gives me 100? That's 10. And once again, you can't just multiply by 10 because it makes it easy for you. You have to multiply, you have to keep it mathematically accurate. And once again, if I multiply 7/10 times 1, a fraction equal to 1, 10 over 10, then I'm not changing the amount. It's still going to be worth 7/10, but it's just going to look slightly different. So 7 times 10 is 70. 10 times 10, 100. So I get 70 per 100, or 70%. So once again, it's helpful to kind of think ahead of time about what numbers are going to work, what denominators is this going to work for. So you can kind of stop and pause and see if you can come up with all of the different denominators that'll work. So hit that pause button, generate a list, come back. Okay, hope you're back. Here's a list of denominators that will work. And once again, you can kind of do this kind of rainbow method to just double check that you've got all the different possibilities. So 4 times 25 is 100, 5 times 20, and then the 10 times 10. Okay, so those are denominators that work. So here's another example. And you can see that's one of those sweet denominators that's going to make your problem easy. So 25, I can multiply this fraction by a fraction equal to 1 to get a denominator out of 100 to help me get a percent. So 25, and here's my pair, 25 times 4. So I'm going to multiply by a fraction equal to 1, 4 over 4. So 2 times 8 is 8. 25 times 4, 100. So I get 8 per 100, or 8%. Now, that's not going to always work. So we have another method. This method will always work, so that's a great thing, but it might take a little bit longer because you have to do a little bit more kind of dividing and whatnot. So here's another example. I'm going to fold the paper over just to kind of give us a little bit more space. So this second method will always work. What I like to do is I always like to kind of first do just a quick estimate, so I can see 1 over 8. This is going to be less. It's less than a whole. It's also less than half. So once again, 4 out of 8, or half, is 50%. So this is going to be less than 50%. So starting with an estimate is always a great strategy. Now, if you get stuck having to go from fractions to percents, ask yourself, okay, what do I know? Well, I know this is less than a half. I know it's less than 50%. I know that that little fraction bar means to divide. So right there, you've got a strategy. It's like, oh, I can do something. I can do division. So we're going to do our division and setting it up. So you're basically going to divide the numerator divided by the denominator. And so I get 8 goes into 1 0 times, because we know it's less than 1 whole. And then doing your division, 8 into 10 1 time. Okay, carrying down. So 8 into 20 2 times, so that's 16. 8 into 40, that's 5 times. Okay, so that goes in evenly. Now, some people just say move the decimal over 2 places to the right. So I'm going to kind of say, okay, let's stop and just kind of understand why that is and what's happening here. So let's say if we had 0.1, okay, this we know is 1/10, okay? You might also know, or you may not, that 1/10 is 10%. If I looked here and I kind of stopped up here and said, okay, well, 0.12, that's 12 hundredths, so I know that this is 12%. So that should give you a pretty good idea that this answer is going to be 12%, but we've got this 5 there, and that's why the decimal is 0.5. So it's 12.5%. Now, like I said, some people just say move the decimal over 2 times, and the reason is whenever you're moving over, this is times 10 times 100. So you're basically multiplying by 100 to get that percent. Okay, so the answer is 12.5. So this is a really good thing to do in terms of practicing. Once again, I recommend stopping the video, taking notes, and then going and doing some online practice just to double check that you've got this skill down. Do some today, stop, do some more tomorrow, double check, and then if you do a little bit each day over an extended period of time and checking that you're getting it right, that's when you're going to build a long-term retention and understanding. So good luck and have a great day.